What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike. Today I'm going to try something new. I woke up this morning hoping that at least one of my trend rant videos would have been approved by YouTube, and neither of them have been. Or are going to be approved. So, unfortunately, if you want to see that content, then you're going to have to join the members only section or view it on OF. I said a long time ago that I was going to make some videos, if for no other reason than to catalog my adventures, basically just showcasing and talking about some of the travels that my wife and kids and I have done. Um, damn, morning burps per usual. So I'm gonna try something new today since I can't get anything else, any other content out that has basically anything even remotely exciting to say. So today I'm at least going to talk over this camera while I show you some pictures from various trips. I think I'm going to turn this into a series of videos. My wife is sitting here. Maybe she'll add her 2 cents to some of the places that we visited during the last couple of years when I was out of work and we were free to travel the world to our heart's content. One of the first things that we did after I decided not to move, we decided not to move to Miami, was we went on a trip to Colorado because we I had never been to Colorado. I think she'd been to a few places and decided that we wanted to go check that out. We had considered moving there, and one of the first national parks that we went to is called Mesa Verde. So I'm going to show you some pictures from that, talk over them, turn this into like a little photo album, just to give you guys an idea of some of the places we went, some of the things that we saw. So anyone who happens to be interested in this, you guys seem to have enjoyed my prison stories and homeless stories, although I doubt that this will be nearly as exciting. Um, this first picture is from a hike that we went on in Mesa Verde National Park. If you're not familiar, Mesa Verde is in the southeastern corner of Colorado State, which is effectively desert scrubland, as you can see in this picture. It is certainly not the beautiful pine tree covered mountains that you will see when we get to Telluride and some of the other places. If you can see in the image that I'm showing you way up ahead, is my wife already beating feet down this trail. I want to be completely transparent in saying that I personally had about zero interest in going to this national park. She showed me pictures of it, and after looking at the pictures, I felt like I had seen all I needed to see. What do you think it was, temperature wise? It was in the 90s. Did it get to 100?
I think it was 96 degrees while we were there, but it felt the heat index was higher than that.
96 degrees. We were there in
July.
July. Yeah. We decided to go to basically desert scrubland hiking in July in Colorado, and it was about 96 degrees when we set out onto this trail. So you can see her there in the distance. I don't know what kind of order these are in. We ended up actually trying to do two trails this particular day. So this image is from some little ways up. The trail basically zigzags, it's switchbacks. Where were we going? Point Lookout. So this is the Point Lookout trail that we're actually on here in Mesa Verde National Park. And it's basically just a set of switchbacks that go right up the side of a cliff effectively until you get to the very top where there are some very, very scenic lookouts. This is probably not even a quarter of the way up. I don't remember what volume of gear I was on. It was not small. I think I was on about 1,200 milligrams um, on this trip, and so I was sucking wind something fierce. The pack that I was carrying, I would later, like a year later, find out that didn't really fit me well, and where I went to strap the lower part that should have been sitting on my hip was effectively crushing my diaphragm. And I don't know how many times I carried that pack before I figured that out. We were in Baker. We were
Almost all of our camping, I mean hiking.
Yeah, I was suffering. I could not breathe wearing this pack, and we were up the mountain in Mount Baker, and I figured it out, and it was game changing. This little bird came to visit when we were. This is like I say, this is like maybe the second or third switchback. You know, you go into one of these trails with a head full of steam, and boy, it was kicking my ass. She was fine. Her cardio endurance is substantially greater than mine. She probably could have climbed the entire thing without, maybe not without even stopping. This was a mile,
It was 2.2 miles round trip.
so about 1.1 miles up, and then about 1.1 miles down, and we gained 700 feet of elevation.
400 feet.
400 feet of elevation.
That's what this says, but
It was more than
golly,
that,
it,
right?
it, it seemed way more than that.
I thought we had a minimum of 500-foot elevation gain. I was admittedly kind of trying to inflate the number to 700, but I thought it was at least 500.
The national park website says 400.
Well,
I don't know. They say it was a moderate. It was a moderate trail.
yeah, they said it was moderate. What I found out is that their ratings don't mean to a bodybuilder. Oh, I probably can't even say that. They their ratings it was moderately brutal for me. So I think this bird here came to check to see if I was still alive because I was not feeling it at this point. I had to sit under this tree for quite a while. Um, this picture is taken. I can't remember. We're not. I guess we're basically to the top, but not to one of the lookouts. You can
Yeah.
see my wife is got the nice quad there on the right and all of her pack gear. She was in significantly better condition than I was in. Although, once you get to the top, you start feeling it pretty good. Um, I think I have a picture here that I can't show. That's me. You can see that I'm not built for hiking, but that's I made it. I made it to the top, which is all that matters. And this is again one of the edges that you can kind of go over. My wife is the kind of person on a hike that she needs to see every single vantage point, anywhere you can stop and get a view, even if it's the exact same view you've seen 10 times from like a 2 or 3 degree different angle. She is not going to miss that view. So, since she's at least not going to remember any of these views, which is why I'm always arguing with her that we should just, keep it pushing. We don't have to stop for everything along the way. I take pictures because if not for the pictures, we'd have no memory at all.
But we would have at least enjoyed it in the moment.
Here's another picture off one of the little viewpoints. You can see the beautiful clouds and the really, really scenic desert terrain there in the back.
I thought it was amazing.
It really was. The thing is, this was our first, like, at least it was mine. Well, not my first mountain experience. I'd lived in Seattle and hiked in the Cascades, but it was certainly it was certainly very pretty. It was certainly a different view, different landscape than I've ever climbed in. Um, we were, yeah, that's another picture. This is the actual, I think, point lookout. I think this is the actual termination of the trail. You can clearly see that you can see forever. And obviously, a 2D image like this doesn't really do anything to represent the fact that she's standing there on the edge of an absolute drop off. So it's minimum 500 feet down from where she's standing, and so you can walk right out on the edge of this cliff and just panoramic views. You can see forever. I was carrying both my camera lenses, so I have a Canon RF 100 to 500 millimeter lens, which would allow me to sit up here and zoom into all of the little farmlands and houses and get like a pretty good peek at some of the stuff that's dotted around in the terrain there. Um, Here I am, still alive, barely at Point Lookout. Um, this is what you're actually climbing for. This is what you're trying to get. I'm shooting a video. What do you need? This is what you're trying to get is this view right here. So again, it's a beautiful view, but if I had never seen anything but somebody else's picture, I might have been okay with it.
But the pictures aren't even close to doing it justice.
No, the pictures are not doing close to doing it justice. I can't show you this next picture, but it is on OF. This next picture, I got her to pop out a
Mm.
little something for me to take a picture of at the top of Point Lookout. Um, Here is another picture to kind of better give you a feel for the altitude and the sheer cliff rock face that you're basically climbing up to see. My wife has absolutely nothing that even resembles a fear of heights, and she is see, I'm trying to be as PC as possible with this video. She is I mean, she's just reckless basically, and she will go right to the absolute edge of something as if standing 1 foot back was going to deny her some experience of the situation. So she's needlessly putting herself at risk every single time she finds anywhere to look out from. She's always right on the absolute precipice, which I think honestly she does just because she likes to get a rise out of me. Because I can literally, if she goes to the edge of one of these things to look off, I can, like, I'm holding my breath basically the entire time. And my mind is just a storm of all of the what ifs and fight, she falls and then no one's ever going to believe that I didn't push her. And it's just a total epic disaster for me. I do not enjoy it at all.
It probably doesn't help that I'm a bit of a klutz when I'm standing
She's a
on
total
front.
klutz. She can't even walk around the house without tripping and falling. I mean, you're way better now than when we got together, but she's a total klutz. She's complete. She has no spatial awareness. She's the kind of person who could easily walk off a cliff without even knowing that there was a cliff there, and yet she feels the need to absolutely push the fucking limit everywhere we go. So there's me at the same point. And then, of course, for good measure, you have to get a double bicep pose with the bokeh in the background. Really, I mean, not bad. I think I was weighing in at about 190, maybe 193 here. I can't recall. I think I was around 193. Here's an example of Sarah having to just kind of try to scoot out toward the edge. I think I made her sit down. I was probably yelling at her at this point to stop screwing around. But like, what you can't see in this image is that if you look at her left hand is basically almost touching the edge of another drop off that's right behind her there. So you see the drop off to the right, but there's actually a crack behind, like immediately behind her in this image. And so she was standing in this little triangle wedge, which is what she's sitting on now, because you can see in the image that I mean, how thick is that rock she's sitting on? And she seems to be totally aware of the rocks that are immediately behind her. So if you look right over her head, you see that there are slabs of rock that are 16 inches thick or greater that have broken off and have slid down the hill and forming the rubble that is behind her. You can see the edge of the cliff face where you could just slip and go right off the edge. This apparently doesn't occur to her. She just assumes that she will not be the weight of the single snowflake that caused the avalanche. All I can do when I'm sitting here is imagine that I'm going to be the weight of a single bodybuilder in this case that caused the entire cliff face to fall off. So I don't really get any enjoyment out of and then of course this is a better angle, so you can see the little wedge of rock that she's sitting on. And you can even see how the piece of rock that she's sitting on is clearly separate from the one that her front right foot is on. So I'm just waiting for that entire slab there behind her that she's sitting on to fall right off the back. But this definitely gives you a nice, clear view of just how beautiful, um, the scenery is. The little peaks that you can see to her left and right don't resolve well in this image. They're very steep. There's just a lot of undulation to the terrain behind her that doesn't really come out in this picture. Um, Again, I'm just gonna kind of scroll through here, just more pictures of the views. Keep this relatively short. This was probably my least favorite place we visited. You can see that red bag and sticking out of the side of my pack. I was eating sunflower seeds on the way up. Trying to keep that salt in the system while I'm sweating gallons of sweat in 96 degrees. hiking a mountain. I think I did, however, say in one of my videos, actually, I was talking about a Discord, how people don't wipe machines down at the gym and they will leave puddles of sweat. You can see if you look at my skin, I don't have a bead of sweat on me. I perspire apparently and do not ever have beads of sweat running off my body, even in 90, almost 100 degrees in the heat and the baking sun. Um, so that was Point Lookout Trail. We decided to go on a second hike that day, which I thoroughly regretted. It comes down off that mesa into a little valley, and this apparently is actually, some of these pictures are also from a drive, a scenic drive that we did. This is what you came to see. So, in case you're curious, why would somebody go to Mesa Verde National Park? What you're looking at here is the whole reason. What were these called?
Oh,
Basically, primitive man, the Native
cliff
American,
dwellings.
lived in these cliff dwellings, and so they carved these homes into the side of this rock face, and ancient people lived here before us white settlers came and destroyed everything.
They were
Or
built between 1190 and 1280 CE.
1190 and 1280 CE. I'm not sure if you could hear her. So this is effectively the reason the park exists. It's basically to protect all of these cliff dwellings. You can do tours that will get you up close. I shot this from actually across a valley. If you look at the very bottom of the image, you can see a man who's wearing a hat. And if you look to the left in the very bottom center of the image, you'll see a little white thing. That is the little white hat that Mennonite women wear. So there was a whole pack of Mennonites here in Mesa Verde National Park, which was interesting. Actually, they were quite interesting. I don't know. Did they ride their horse and buggy to get to the national park?
Sometimes Mennonites sometimes have vans or something,
They have a Mennonite van.
like a community vehicle.
Yeah, they. It was weird looking at the Mennonites. They definitely look like they were from a bygone era. Um, moving right along. This is designed. This picture is designed to give you a feel for the height of the cliffs that we were walking through. You can see how tiny Sarah is down there, and as everyone on my channel knows, she's far from a tiny woman. She's about 2 centimeters short of being an Amazon. So those are some really tall cliff faces.
This was Spruce Canyon Trail.
Spruce Canyon
This
Trail.
was a strenuous trail at 2.4 miles.
This was not a strenuous trail. This was a trail that should have been classified as borderline death sentence. It was miserably hot. It was excruciatingly painful to hike. I got absolutely zero enjoyment out of it. There were no epic views. This is an example of one of the best little things I think I found and took a picture of. Just a hollowed out rock with Sarah sitting in it.
There was no air moving, and it was
Yeah.
so humid, but there was no water down there. There was supposed to
Yeah.
be some water down there, but it was all dried up
The
in
river was
July.
completely dry, so we couldn't luckily we brought enough water, but we couldn't have refilled our bottles if we wanted to. Another thing Sarah has to insist upon doing is anytime she sees a climbable rock, she's like a 6-year-old, and she has to climb the rock and be photographed on top of the rock. It's like this little miniature conquering thing, and so here she is, posing on top of a rock that she's just climbed. Um, this is from the drive. There's a scenic drive where you can look at this effectively little miniature canyon. That's actually pretty scenic. Unfortunately, I did not do a good job when I edited this picture of leveling it. You can see my horizon is not level. Because you guys noticed that, right? Um, Here's another picture of the gorge or the canyon, whatever you want to call it. This was actually pretty nice. Obviously the pictures rob you of the ambiance because you don't have the air blowing through the canyon, blowing through your hair. Like the sound. You can just hear the depth and the space around you. and that never is captured even in video because it's always just it sounds like wind on the microphone. Here's another little example of what's left of some of the cliff dwellings. Again, this is along the scenic drive, so we must have already survived the walk through however many miserable miles of river basin that we walked. There was nothing to take pictures of. I was sucking wind the entire time.
At
Um,
one point, we were going and we were like, walk 10 or 20 steps, stop for
yeah,
rest. Walk 10 or 20 steps,
this was
stop.
straight
Especially
up.
when it was going up at
Yeah,
the end.
when it was going up, like my pulse would hit. My pulse would go from 80 or 90 to 130 in 15 steps, and so I was just tapping out left and right. Again, here's a picture of another one of the larger cliff dwellings. You can schedule tours to be able to get in there and go see all that, but we did not. Um, and let's see a couple more angles to the cliff dwellings. Again, like it's cool. It's not that it's not cool, but I can promise you, if you're ever considering going to Mesa Verde to see the cliff dwellings, you just drop a tip here. You're welcome. I saved you. It's absolutely no better seeing it in person. I promise you,
Uh,
than looking at these pictures.
strongly disagree.
The cliff dwellings were totally, wholly unremarkable in my opinion.
But you have to think
Um,
about the artistry and the engineering that went into that so long ago, and it's still here today.
but the
We
thing,
can't even make anything that lasts
I,
today.
I agree that it's a remarkable thing that they accomplished, but the people who are watching this video can sit here right now. They can look at this picture and they can have all the same thoughts that you had or I had standing in 98-degree heat, basking in the sun, looking at these things while your heart's pounding in your chest. And
Mm.
it's just trust me. Like, just trust me. Like, look at the picture, you know, imagine living in this place or building in this place if you should want to imagine such a thing. I'm kind of happy that this is not the way we live, although we did live in tents in order to see some of these things.
Yeah, really.
But our tent, I mean, let's be honest, our tent had satellite internet. It had, a stove inside of it. you know, we had electric fans at some point or heaters at some points. So there you have it. That for greater or worse is Mesa Verde National Park. Again, don't let this spoil the rest of these videos for you. This was my least favorite location of all. I only went because my wife insisted upon going, and I was right. It was not worth it. But hey, I mean, if you're in Colorado and you're making the national park tour, and you want to check a box off your list, then this is definitely, I guess, it's certainly a unique place to go, and it's probably, well, I mean, you do you. I wouldn't do it again for sure. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching, and I'm gonna try to roll out some more bodybuilding content today. I may shoot a couple more of these videos if this goes well, just to have it out there for old time's sake and to give you guys an idea of some of the traveling that we did, if anybody actually happens to care. So there you have it. As always, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.